everybody. My name is Steiner, and in case you haven't noticed, I play the guitar. Now, during the past 2 years that I've started to play, I made it my business not only to learn how to play the instrument, but to understand how it works and how the music comes out of the guitar. During this time, I've also realized that many people who hear the guitar and almost any music that they listen to don't really understand how it works. Now, I'm primarily an electric guitar player, and people just say silly things like, well, you just need to plug it in, and then it's the same thing, or, well, it just goes louder, in contrast to an acoustic guitar. And I think it's a little silly how people who listen to music involving these instruments all the time don't really understand how they work. So I hope that today, after my speech, you'll be able to understand that there's a huge difference between acoustic and electric guitars in sound, playability, and construction. Now, first things first, in order to contrast two things, we first need to compare them. So I want to show you the basic functions of how a guitar makes its music. If you pull, say, a rubber band or a string really tight and you have somebody pluck it, you'll get a musical note. The guitar starts off the same way. You have this, which is called the nut. This is called the bridge. You take your strings, stretch them across, and pluck them. Now, different size strings and different lengths make different notes. However, unless we had a really fat guitar, I'd be stuck with 6 strings. That's where these little metal things come in. These are called the frets. Now, as I shorten the length of my string, the sound gets higher. So, now if I shorten it to here, it gets higher, 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 and so on. So along each string, I have a number of notes to play. Okay, now, once I've got my sounds going on, I need some way to amplify it. And that's our first main difference between an electric and acoustic guitar. On an acoustic guitar, we have this hollow part. This is called the sound hole. Now, I have my vibrating string. Vibrations go in here, bounce around, and it's constructed so as to magnify the sound through echo so that once I play something, it comes out a lot louder than if there was nothing here. However, on an electric guitar, it works a little bit different. You see, electric guitar has no hole, not hollow, very solid. It's just got these black guys here. These are called pickups. Each dot here has a small magnet wrapped in a coil of usually copper wire, which creates a small magnetic field. As I pluck a string and I cause a vibration, I'm disrupting the magnetic field and hence creating an electrical signal, which then goes into the wire and into the amplifier. So one huge difference between the two is that it's not a direct sound. Hence, on the electric, I have the opportunity to change my signal and do all sorts of interesting things. So, for example, if I were to just play the guitar without doing anything to it, it would just sound like that. However, I can click a button on the amp to distort the sound and now have a much meaner sound. That's why electric is generally used for rock and other heavier sounding music. I can also, if I actually had the money to afford it, place various effects in between my guitar and amp. There are a lot of different types of things. You can delay the sound so you have an echo sound. You can add all sorts of strange things that give it watery sounds like a phaser. And all these ideas are because since I have an electrical signal, I can modify it and give it all sorts of strange sounds. Okay, now, there are many other differences that a lot of people don't really realize. I mean, it's pretty obvious to see this is hollow, that's not. What people don't really realize is that bodies are more similar than they think. See, this has like that nice big hollow thing we were talking about. This, if you notice, it's not just a strip of wood, it's a full-size wood. And although it's much smaller, it's quite heavier. The reason is that even though we're using the electrical signal, we still want the natural sound of the wood as if it were an acoustic guitar. Now, the other main difference, and this one has a huge effect on usage, is the necks. If I show you the two necks, you'll see that this neck is substantially thinner and also smaller than this one. Okay, the main reason is that because this requires the natural ringing sound a lot more, since its only sound is the echoes, it needs to have that thicker neck to let the sound travel more. Also, the strings are thicker and higher up, again, to give it that natural sound. So, on an acoustic guitar, because of this, it's a lot harder to do a lot of different moves that I might do on an electric, like those bends I was doing before. They're a lot harder to do and make them sound good. However, an acoustic guitar, although it's harder to play fast on, has a much sweeter natural sound. So when I'm playing chords, I have a very nice sound going for me. That's why acoustic guitars are generally used for things like folk or country, soft rock, things that require singing and just strumming chords. Whereas the electric guitar, as I think I've showed you, is used for more of the, in my opinion, fun stuff. The rock, blues, metal, you know, so you can just do something like this. So, I think that's a pretty good summary of the differences and similarities between the two types of guitars. And I hope that next time you guys listen to some music, you will, try to use these concepts to help you appreciate the music that you're listening to a little bit.